Hello, Void. How you doing? So, tonight's probably my last one on my week-long binge that I've been doing, so let's make it count. Or maybe not. So, after finishing that 20 movie collection yesterday, I thought I'd treat myself to something new, something a little both new that I haven't seen, and something a little newer. Since most of the movies on that collection were from anywhere from the 70s to the 40s, so old school. So I took a look at a movie that's I've been meaning to see for a while, but after everything I'd heard, it never really became a high priority. And that's one of I would say the only movie of the Conjuring universe I hadn't seen. Uh, Now that the Conjuring 3 is out, that's changed, so one more. And that's The Curse of La Llorona. Okay, so here we go. First off, they proudly, on the cover there, indicate that it's from the producers of the Conjuring universe. Despite saying that it's from the producers of them, this movie is in the Conjuring universe. It's the fact that they're doing it like that makes me think that they're pretending it's not, because they know it's not very good. Okay, so this is a 2019 film. As for the Conjuring connection, it's 30 seconds. You can cut out of this movie, and then it stands on its own. That's it. That's all. So I can see why they're really not bothering to play it up very much. Okay, so it's a very generic ghost movie. That's really all I can say for this one. There's very little that set this movie apart, and considering they're claiming to be from the Conjuring, that's kind of a shame, because this would be the weakest entry in that thing. And considering how the original Annabelle didn't throw me, that's saying a lot. And the sequels are pretty good. Anyway, so it starts by showing us the origins of La Llorona, which she's starting to enter the mainstream of horror a little bit more. It's a Mexican legend about a woman who, in a fit of jealousy to get back at her husband for cheating on her, drowns both of her children in a jealous rage. Then, realizing the horror of what she's done, kills herself. And La Llorona, or the Weeping Woman, is a crying ghost who's trying to find her lost children and is looking to claim, well, yours. Okay. So, this movie barely leans into that, like, at all. I mean, yeah, that's the backstory of the ghost, definitely fits into that. But other than the ghost being after her kids, they really don't pull into the folklore behind this at all. But I mean, they call it the Weeping Woman, but the ghost is barely crying. I mean, you can hear some in the distance, and when she first starts haunting the main family, yeah, she's there crying, and they have this weird thing with her tears burning things, but you can barely tell she's crying usually. I mean, they have this weird thing where mirrors crack at her presence and you can't stand her own reflection. I don't know if that's part of the folklore or just a little touch they added, but it really doesn't play into like much other than one scene. They barely hinted at it up until that point, so the fact that it did anything was kind of a surprise. Okay, so this is a very by-the-numbers ghost story. So, a woman comes in contact with other family that's being harassed by ghosts, spreading the ghost to her, and now she has to deal with it. So she reaches out to an older person of faith who can help her, and they proceed to try to exorcise the ghost. It's very basic. I was hoping for a little something of substance here to set it apart, but all they gave me was a pair of kids that are too stupid to survive. Not quite as bad as the kid in Quiet Place Part 2, but close. Okay. The acting's fine in this for the most part, I guess. I'll give it that. There's no problems there, but no one's going above and beyond. So I give you the broad strokes. Look at what actually happens. A woman who works for Child Protective Services with 2 children of her own, and her husband's a cop who was recently killed. Investigates one of her cases and finds that the woman has kind of gone crazy and locked her children in a closet and is refusing to let them out. And is acting weird, and the children seem to be suffering from abuses, from bruises and the like. The kids keep saying she did it. Not their mother did it, but she did it. And of course, what's going on is La Llorona's after the kids, and the mother is trying to just protect them. The one aspect I did like of this movie is that mother's continued presence from the movie they're in. After the ghost gets spread to her, because, minor spoiler, those 2 kids do not make it. Because Child Protective Services try to take them into protective custody, but that just pretty much put them on a silver platter for La Llorona. Now, so the woman then apparently prayed to La Llorona to give me my children back, have her children instead. So she pretty much threw a Child Protective Service lady under the bus, and now La Llorona's after her kids. Okay, so I do like what they're doing there. And then there's the turnaround when Child Protective Services gets called on, well, her, or the main girl, after now her children look abused. But so she seeks help from the church, and the church guy was from the Annabelle movies, and they do a quick flash to Annabelle. That's it. That's all. Anyway, he refers her to a rogue priest, faith healer who can help, and he does by trying to do everything he can to ward off La Llorona. I was like, he was kind of the standout in the movie. This rogue priest had a lot of comedic lines, and he had some charisma to him, but compared to some of the other characters in movies like this, he seemed very subdued and like he was even tired. Which is a shame. Alright, that covers the Conjuring connection, because that's all it was. This movie is so basic, I don't have really much even to say about it. The effects are a CG monstrosity. It's a bunch of jump scares, a creepy atmosphere here and there, but too few and far between to be memorable. So there's some creepy build-ups, but the payoffs are not good. And the ghost itself, the design is just so basic. James Wan produced this one, but otherwise didn't really have his hands on it, but he really should have been paying more attention because there's nothing here. So The Curse of La Llorona, 2 MacGuffins. It's the best I can do for it. It wasn't a bad movie, but it does nothing to elevate itself, and I found that frustrating. Well, I guess that's about it for this one. Oh, I guess it's a short one at least, 93 minutes, but the movie's rated R. I can't tell you why. I have no idea. It's not gory. It says violence and terror. The violence is lackluster. This could easily have been PG-13. Maybe just because they actually killed some kids in this one. That's probably it. But they do it off screen and you just see the bodies and they look fine. So there's no way this should have been an R-rated movie. Like, there's a couple bruises and that's about it. So I guess, and when La Llorona drowns her kids at the beginning. So those are drownings. So that's it. There's no reason for this to be R. It doesn't even cite language on there. I mean, Conjuring was R for intensity, and I'll give it that. It was. Most of the Annabelles are PG-13, and that's all they need to be. This one, skip it. If you're a die-hard Conjuring fan, there's barely a connection here, so you really don't need to see this one, but I'm glad I saw it once, but I'm probably not going to revisit this one very often. Maybe if I do an average ghost movie night. Every once in a while you want some junk food, I guess. And this movie kind of qualifies. Well, that's fun. I hope to see you guys soon. We are at September, and just ticked over to September 20th, so getting close to my October anniversary, and when I begin an entire new binge that'll last a month, assuming I can keep up the pace. It's going to be harder. I'm working twice as much as I was last year, and longer hours. So squeezing everything in might be a trick. We'll see how it goes, though. Take care, have a good night, and see you soon.